Goku, the orphan who fell from the stars to become the savior of mankind. As the two set off on a new adventure, one thing is for certain. As long as Goku lives, peace and prosperity shall reign.
Oh gosh, that was such an awesome show. I just wish that it didn't have to end. I'm just gonna say it. Dragon Ball is one of, if not the best anime of all time. The story of Goku is so fun and compelling to both watch and read. Starting all the way back from his humble beginnings as a monkey boy with a stick, all the way to him saving the multiverse and beyond, Dragon Ball has always been amazing. The story, characters, and fights have been staples in so many people's lives across multiple generations. Over the past couple of months, I decided to sit down and watch the entire series with my family, since they've never seen it before, and it's been a while since I've watched it from beginning to end as well. Watching Dragon Ball all the way through Z is an experience that is quite unique and special, but it'll make you yell, laugh, and cry just like any good show should. But like with all good things, it has to end eventually. And in January of 1996, that was the case. Dragon Ball Z aired its last episode, having Goku wave goodbye not only to his friends and family, but to the viewer as well. But there's another ancient proverb, one that I think we can agree on was spoken best by Freddie Mercury, and that is, the show must go on.
Show must go on!
Especially if its intellectual property is worth over $24 billion. Only 1 month after its predecessor ended, Toei Animation aired its first episode of the anime-exclusive series, Dragon Ball GT. Now, an interesting thing about GT is that, well, I've never actually seen it. And since I was on a mission to watch the whole series with my family, I thought it would be a perfect opportunity to finally watch it before we moved on to Dragon Ball Super. Now, I actually was able to keep my understanding of GT over the years fairly minimal and spoiler-free. I knew who some of the characters were. It's hard to play all the video games and not know who at least a few are, but I didn't know the overall plot and motivations behind those characters. So I was actually excited to finally see it. But I did hear of some stories through the grapevine, some stories of poor animation and rushed storytelling that was filled with cringe characters and uninteresting filler that isn't actually filler because it's the original source material. So I prepared accordingly.
No! Stop! Just calm down! Don't do it!
That's too much!
Get out of here, cat! Oh, there. That's better. Oh, I almost forgot. Oh, that's better.
But don't worry, I took some notes while I was watching so I wouldn't forget anything in my drunken rage. So come on this detour with me, or this G-tour, as I review Dragon Ball GT from a first-time viewer's perspective. I hope you enjoy it. So GT starts 5 years after Z. I wasn't sure if it was 5 or 10, but Pan was 5 at the end of Z and now she's 10, so it has to be 5. Anyway, it's nice to see the Pilaf gang back giving their old antics another shot. It's even more hilarious since they have all gotten really old. Shu has got to be pushing 50 or so in human years, so I can't imagine how old he is in doggy years. Anyway, the Pilaf gang finds the Black Star Dragon Balls that come out of nowhere. Like really, these things were never mentioned or hinted at any point during Dragon Ball? Obviously, it's because they weren't a part of Akira Toriyama's story, but their excuse for not being used before is just bad writing. They were created before the normal Dragon Balls by the original Namekian that Kame and King Piccolo split from. Apparently, everyone who knew about them forgot that they existed and just left them sitting at the lookout. But you'd think that someone would remember them. Listen, even if Kame and King Piccolo forgot that they existed, in Dragon Ball Z, Piccolo fused with Kame, essentially becoming the original Namekian again and then some. You'd think by that point he would remember something that important, but no. We just have to go along with the writing. So Goku accidentally gets wished to be a boy again by the Pilaf gang, and he has 1 year to collect all 7 of the Black Star Dragon Balls that have now been scattered across the galaxy, or else the Earth will be destroyed. Despite the non-believable start to the show, I have to say I enjoy the plot so far. Turning Goku into a kid is a nice way to freshen the series up while still feeling like Dragon Ball. Like, this is something that I can believe could actually happen in the show, even though the real reason is because they wanted to make Goku a kid again to appeal to a younger audience. Traveling across the galaxy looking for the Dragon Balls is a simple premise that can have a ton of different things happen. The possibilities seem endless. On paper, it sounds like a great idea. Where the show drops the Dragon Ball hard is in its execution. To go on this space adventure is Goku, Pan, and Trunks, and this is where the show makes its first big mistake. For about half the show, the focus is on these three characters. Dragon Ball has no shortage of interesting and well-developed characters, and to depart from the iconic cast to try something new was a gamble that did not pay off. Goten almost went with them, but at the end of the day he couldn't be bothered to commit himself. After they left without him, all I could think about was how much better the show would be with him there. If I had to choose one more character to join them, it would be Oob. Oob and Pan are very similar in the fact that they're both original Dragon Ball characters who weren't explored that much since they came in at the tail end of the series. The original story concludes with Goku flying off with Oob to go train. Just a story about their adventures together could be a separate show on its own and would serve as sort of a passing of the torch to a younger generation. The first episode of GT, however, kills any sort of possibility with their story by having them on their last day of training. It legitimately feels like a ripoff because at the end of Z I was curious about Oob and just what kind of person he would turn out to be. But if this is how they're gonna handle it, why even include him in the first place if they aren't going to use him? And as for Pan, well, let's just say she's very one note.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Why don't you go back to your dumb punching and kicking practice?
Pan is one of the most annoying characters in all of Dragon Ball, which is a shame because I want to like her so much. She is the daughter of Gohan after all. Her actions and constant whining just keep pushing me away from her. With that being said, I do like the dynamic between her and Goku. Even though Pan is Goku's granddaughter, she keeps him in line by acting more like his mother, which is funny to see once in a while. But enjoying character interactions once in a while is a far cry from how things felt in Dragon Ball and Z, where every single episode has great interactions between the vast cast of characters. The only other character that I need to talk about is Giru, which basically becomes a sentient dragon radar for them to use. And if Pan wasn't enough, Giru will definitely make you wish that you could get a vasectomy for your ears. That or some Xanax. I mean, he is helpful, but helpful in the way that Navi or Fi is in Zelda, if you know what I mean. Rather than feeling like a new step forward, GT instead feels like a poor imitation of its own series. This is seen the most when looking at the animation. It almost has the same problem with Super, in that the animation is trying its best to capture how the original show felt, but falls just a tad short. It definitely feels cheaper. Even scenes from the original Dragon Ball series are better looking, and that was done a decade before. The imitation even goes down to the ending narrator, who is trying to sound so hard. The narrator of Z worked so well because it didn't sound like he was trying to be cool. It was more of a natural inflection with his voice, and the enthusiasm that he showed is what made it great.
Has Frieza pushed Goku's rage to new heights? And can Goku avenge the life of his close friend Krillin? The only way to find out is to watch the next exciting episode of Dragon Ball Z!
But here we have this guy telling us what's about to happen next on GT.
With the Dragon radar in the belly of a robot and their spaceship disappearing over the horizon, Trunks, Goku, and Pan have a difficult road ahead. Stay tuned for scenes from the next GT.
In the earlier episodes, he even leaves out the word Dragon Ball, making GT feel even more like a disconnect. This is all a shame because in many ways, GT feels like it's trying to be a show like the original Dragon Ball. The adventures that they have in space early on give off the same sort of vibe when Goku was traveling with Bulma, Oolong, and Yamcha back in the day. In reality, the stakes are high, like the whole Earth will be destroyed, but then they fight things like this catfish-looking guy, and any sense of importance flies out the window faster than Goku on the Nimbus. You just think to yourself, really? These are the people who fought Frieza, Cell, and Majin Buu, and they're letting this guy get in their way? Goku should just roll into any situation and just take the Dragon Ball by force. But I get it, that's not who Goku is. I guess they'll just have to make Trunks dress up like a girl instead. He really puts the drag in Dragon Ball. Going back to this catfish guy though, there's another case of bizarre writing. See, he threatens these villagers by causing earthquakes, so they're pretty much powerless to stop him. Only to find out that he doesn't cause earthquakes, he just predicts them. Meaning that the earthquakes just conveniently happen when he needs them the most. I'm just not buying it.
I ain't not buying your shit.
Usually stuff like this doesn't bother me when watching a show, but the inconsistencies and weird choices like this just seem like they're everywhere, so it's hard to not notice them. It's especially noticeable coming from Z, where yeah, once in a while things didn't add up, but for the most part, it had great writing. The only thing that GT has that Z does not is sporadic cool moments. What I mean by that is once in a while, things will get interesting and ramp up. One moment that stood out early on is when they had to fight this guy Legic. It was the first semi-cool fight in GT, and what made him more interesting is that he knew what a Saiyan was, meaning that Saiyans have a bit of notoriety in the galaxy, as they should. One moment that I know I'm going to get some flack for liking is when they fight the Para brothers. Yeah, they're pretty dumb and silly, but seeing people who attack by dancing and their whole aesthetic is at least memorable. They appeal to me in similar ways to the Ginyu Force, just not as much. After this happens, it takes a good while before things get good again, and I do mean good, but when it does, it comes with the introduction of Baby. This is one of those characters that I've seen in the games before, so I was interested in what his role in the show would be, and for the first time, GT came up with an interesting and cool idea. Baby is the last survivor of the Tuffles, who were a thriving race that was wiped out by the Saiyans long ago. He was found and nourished by Dr. Mew, who was eventually taken over by Baby. As a side note, what a lazy and redundant design for Mew. It's almost like the show admits this when he and Dr. Gero work together down the line. Anyway, what makes Baby so cool is that they give him a believable and interesting backstory. It gives him clear motives, and him arriving on Earth is a good turning point in the show. The Baby arc is legitimately interesting and well done for the most part, and a big component comes from the fact that it does take place on Earth. It brings all the characters that have been absent in GT together, making for a desperately needed reunion. So far, every time the show has shown the characters back on Earth, I just wanted to stay there and see what everyone was up to. I would take something like that over the adventure with Pan, Goku, and Trunks any day. But now that everyone is together, it's great. I'm not going to talk about the whole arc, but I would like to mention a couple notable things that happen. For one, Oob makes a return to show off what he can do. Finally, they show us something about Oob, even though it doesn't last very long. I was surprised to see that they actually do something with Oob and Boo's unique relationship. Having them fuse is a great decision for the character, and I actually prefer what they do with Boo here than in Super. It gives his character a reason for being there, rather than just basically doing nothing and eating all day like in Super. Another standout moment is that Goku turns into Super Saiyan 4 for the first time. The design for SS4 is legendary, and everyone agrees that it's one of the best things to come out of GT, and I agree. This whole fight between Baby and Goku takes place on a resurrected planet Vegeta, or Planet Plant, which Baby wished back with the Black Star Dragon Balls. It's an interesting setting for their final battle and adds to the overall enjoyment from this arc. The fight itself is pretty solid too, and the ending is satisfying when Baby gets destroyed trying to run away. The Baby Saga is one of the best storylines in GT, even though it's not perfect. Before I get into the flaws though, I want to tackle the next arc first, because I feel like they share some of the same issues. It's time to mention the next big storyline in GT, the Shadow Dragon arc. The Shadow Dragon Saga is the final arc in GT and follows the Super 17 arc, which is one of my least favorite parts in Dragon Ball as a whole. Okay, I do want to talk about the Super 17 arc a little because it does go into the Shadow Dragon Saga. Everything about the Super 17 saga seems cheap. It's basically a nostalgia assault that's led by Dr. Mew and Dr. Gero. They bring back every villain from Hell, which is a very basic idea that doesn't carry any substance with it, and even by Dragon Ball standards, it comes off as redundant because the Fusion Reborn movie already did the same thing. I wrote in my notes that it was cool seeing Nappa come back because he has a little interaction with Vegeta, and then as soon as I stopped typing, he got annihilated. So it was only cool for like 10 seconds. See, sporadically interesting. The only other good aspect of this saga is the interaction between androids 17 and 18. Krillin has a pretty well done death scene and it makes 18 join in on the fight. Even though the saga is pretty trash, it does have its good moments, even though they're far and few between. The best of these moments being at the end with the conversation between 18 and Goku.
You know that, don't you? That he's happy? Well?
It actually made me tear up a little bit seeing a wholesome interaction between characters who don't share a lot of time together. Okay, now that that's out of the way, back to the Shadow Dragons. This is the second best part of the series, in the way that it's just about as interesting as the Baby Saga, and also in the way that after this, the show is over. Just like with most parts of GT, the plot is cool. The Dragon Balls break and release 7 Shadow Dragons that they have to beat in order to restore the Dragon Balls, which all broke because the Super 17 saga was just that bad. What's really interesting is that each dragon represents a wish that the characters made in the past. For example, the 6-star dragon, Oceanus Shenron, was made by the very first wish in Dragon Ball where Oolong wished for the panties. What makes this whole arc enjoyable is that it's believable. Elder Kai always said it wasn't natural using the Dragon Balls in the way that the characters have been, and now they have to deal with the consequences. The main baddie here is Sin Shenron, who is the strongest of the Shadow Dragons. He's the strongest villain they've fought by far, even making Goku and Vegeta fuse into the iconic Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. At the risk of sounding like a basic fanboy, I do think this is the high point of the show, even though Gogeta doesn't stay for too long. Honestly, this part in the show isn't too weird. The writing and pacing is okay, the fights are good, and the new characters are passable. They aren't exactly on baby level, but they're alright. The best addition to the new characters has to be Nova Shenron, who represents the 4-star ball. He and Goku form a bond and start to respect each other as their fight goes on, eventually leading to him becoming the ally. It's good stuff, except for this filter that they put over his voice. I swear, it's like someone's just blowing into the mic behind him.
What a pity. I didn't expect the game to end so abruptly.
What puts this saga over the edge of babies is the ending. If you've never seen it, I would suggest watching it. It's perfect in the way that it's abstract and gives off a sense of mysticism that fits in perfectly with the series. It's just a shame that we had to slog through the entirety of GT to see it. What I will say is that when Goku is gathering energy with the Spirit Bomb, all of the people that helped on their journey give him energy, making it feel like it wasn't a big waste of time, even though it totally was. It's just a shame that moments like this are undercut by the bizarre choices and occurrences that are littered everywhere in the show. I've already talked about a few of them already, but I wanted to dive a little bit deeper. From what I can tell, there are 3 main things that are wrong with GT, being the pacing, the animation, and the overall writing in general. I'll start with the pacing. Oh my goodness, does this show feel rushed. I get that there aren't that many episodes, there's only 64 in fact, but there was no source material that they had to follow. These writers could have worked around that instead of squishing in all these nonsense and convoluted moments. For example, at the end of the Baby Saga when the Earth gets destroyed, there's this big moment where Piccolo sacrifices himself so the Black Star Dragon Balls won't reappear. But the audience isn't given enough time to even react because, I kid you not, the Earth gets wished back less than 1 minute after it happens. Like, wow, way to take away the impact of Piccolo's sacrifice. You can get up and use the bathroom and come back and miss a huge moment. In Z, I feel like something like this would have had a whole episode dedicated to it, let alone 1 minute. Another example of poor pacing is the whole first quarter of the series. It takes way too long for something interesting to happen. I honestly almost didn't make it through. It wasn't until episode 15 when things started to move along at a better pace, at least for a while. Pan even started to change a little here, as the episode took some time to build on her. It's like GT doesn't know if it wants to move at a snail's pace or over 9,000 miles an hour, and it can be frustrating to have to sit through that. The pacing is so bad that I thought some parts of the show were actually filler until I realized that there couldn't be filler in GT because it's not like they had to wait for the manga to catch up. There was no manga. Next, I want to talk about the writing. It's bad, like really bad. There are more holes in GT than in a slice of Swiss cheese. I already mentioned how unbelievable the Black Star Dragon Balls come off, but there are other inconsistencies that range from big to small. One other big one is the use of the Namekians. They come in very abruptly and use their Dragon Balls to wish the Earth back. Now, if they were able to do that after the Earth was destroyed, then surely they could use their Dragon Balls to help Goku and the gang get the Black Star Balls in some way. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but okay, the Namekians feel like a cheap crutch here for the show to lean on, even more so than in Z, where the Namekians helping the Z fighters felt justified. Some really small but distracting elements of the show come in the names of the characters and planets. Dragon Ball has some of the most iconic names that are out there. Planet Namek for one, Tao Pai Pai, Frieza, Goku. Everything has an awesome name, but let's take a look at what we got here in GT. Early on, there's this character who's like an evil tyrant on this planet, and his name is Don Key. Can you guess what the joke is? That's not even that bad. It's a little dumb, but just wait. Next, there's this character who comes in the very early parts of the Baby Saga. He kind of looks like Prince Charming got together with someone from Planet of the Apes, so maybe his name is Monkey? Oh, that's really lame though. What his name actually is Del Taki. I wonder how they came up with that. Okay, I feel really dumb. This whole time I thought his name was Del Taki, but really his name is Doll Taki. It's supposed to be like Doll Taker because he turns Pan into a doll, but come on, even the voice actors can't decide on this fool's name.
Is it true that Master Daltaki will make an appearance today?
I hope Master Daltaki will have time to fix it.
Oh, please, Master Daltaki, help me with my weight problem.
Hey! Only you can do that, man. Come on, I believe in you. I swear, this guy is one of the worst parts of GT. Ugh. The one that takes the cake, though, is the name for this monstrosity right here. Go on, guess. Take a guess as to what this thing is named. Is it Angry Belly Robot? Or maybe McRonald's? This thing's name is Lewd.
serious?
Yeah, for real, it's lewd. Come on, isn't this a kid show? It's just so bizarre. I get that it's not spelled the same way, but come on. It's just really distracting and serves no purpose. Speaking of something having no purpose, I wanted to show you this scene of Pan right here.
Oh, how cute. Hey, what are you doing?
He thinks you're his mother.
I'm going to jail!
Do you see what I mean? Stuff like this is just freaking weird and pointless. And before you make the comparison to Dragon Ball where Bulma flashes Roshi, that was played way more for laughs and it actually had a point. Now, I was going to mention how Baby is a weird name until I realized that the only reason they named him that is because he looks like Mac Tonight's son from McDonald's.
Silence! Don't you dare mock me!
The final aspect of GT I wanted to touch on is the animation. In my opinion, it's not as important as the writing, but it does stand out enough for it to at least be mentioned. The overall quality is subpar for Dragon Ball standards, and you'd be hard-pressed to watch an episode and not find anything that looks dull. The worst offender comes from the infamous episode 43, the resurrection of Cell and Frieza. I had heard just how bad the animation is here and how off-putting Cell looks, but in the episode right before, he doesn't look that bad. He actually looks pretty good. So I was thinking that people were overreacting. But then for some odd reason, he looks like he's a few cells short of perfection, if you know what I mean. The animation should never be so bad that it actually takes you out of the show, a trait that GT unfortunately exercises pretty often. We're now at the end of the video, and by this point I hope I've shown off why this show is just so freaking weird. There are a ton of more things that I wrote down in my notes, but I feel like these are the ones that stand out the most. Before I let you go, I did want to share one aspect of GT that I actually really like, love even, and that aspect is Vegeta. Vegeta is by far the best thing to come out of the show. Every time he's on screen, he steals the entire spotlight. What makes him so good is that he's sort of moved on and accepted his role as a father and as a respectable friend amongst the characters. He's still strong, don't get me wrong, but he's the only character in the show who the writers treated well. The relationship he has with Bulma is hilarious because though she can never physically hurt him, she does wound him in the only way that she can, by crippling his pride.
That mustache has got to go. It makes you look like a total gee. It makes you look like a total gee.
He has moments like that where he's funny, but then he has moments of seriousness where he steps up to take charge. The scene where Vegeta thinks he's the last one left who could defeat Omega Shenron is heartbreaking and even got a couple tears out of me.
It's the end. We just can't beat him. I've already had to deal with one home planet being destroyed. No! Now it looks like the Earth will be next to go! Everybody listen up! Get away from the Earth and Bulma's spaceship while you still have the time. One more thing. Trunks, you'll have to find a way to kill this dragon if I can't. And Gohan, Goten. It's your responsibility as well to continue the fight your father couldn't finish. Now, Trunks, you must take everyone and go. That's an order. Don't follow me. Wait!
I know I said the appearance of Gogeta was the best part in the show, but after reflecting on it a little, the way Vegeta makes himself vulnerable in the face of everything pushes this moment over the edge. Even his final words, of the series by this point mind you, is perfect in its simplicity and implications for Pan in the future.
Wait a sec. These look like the same clothes Grandpa was wearing before he went off with Shenron.
They are. Take good care of those, Pan.
I'm glad that Vegeta received the treatment that he deserved, but when looking at the juxtaposition between him and the 99% of the other aspects of the show, the only thing I'm left thinking is Dragon Ball GT is weird. Thanks for making it to the end of the video. I just want to say thank you to those who are checking out my content. My channel has been growing a lot lately, even though I haven't posted a video in a while. I really don't deserve you guys. I work full time and have a family to take care of, so I really do appreciate you watching my stuff whenever it comes out. If you liked the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing, and if you didn't like it, then by all means, leave a dislike. You can't see them, but I can. Whether you like, dislike, or subscribe, you don't have to do any of those things, but what you do have to do is have a nice day. Thanks again, and I'll see you later. Bye!